Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight. This Wednesday, the 26th. It's now 6:30, and I'd like to call this the council meeting to order. Director Williamson, can you get the roll call?
Francie.
Here.
Gagan.
Here.
Hodgkin. Hubbard.
Here.
Moynihan.
Here.
Nipper.
Here.
Grado.
Here.
Rajic.
Here.
Shaw.
Here.
Swore.
Here.
Taylor.
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
Or.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, if you're able, I would like to, like this after the vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
think it affects Laura.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Councilmember Hodgkin. She is out of town this evening.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this? All in favor? Opposed?
And I'd like the motion to be approved tonight's agenda.
And seconded by Councilperson Francie. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now we'd like to open it up for public comments. And remember, please start with your name and your ward or the city you live in, and you have 3 minutes and be kind.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Michael Stoddard, and I've lived in Aberdeen my whole entire career here, working in different jobs and stuff like that. So we gave you a little bit of background with the handouts of what I've done. And I've been on the park board since 1998, and had the privilege of working with Wes Peterson, Carl Harris, and obviously Stacy. And done a lot of projects and different things. And one of the complaints against me is that we didn't, the park board didn't set the visions, but the past directors have always set the agenda, the vision, the goals, and the priorities for us. And we took them back to the park board, and we discussed them and found this common ground to move forward with our agenda for the benefit of the citizens of Aberdeen. Unfortunately, that format somewhat is broken, and the park board is not responsible for those, the visions, the goals, and the priority. It's not solely upon us as a park board, but as the director with us, and that is currently not happening. Then I would address the frustrations, and I have a little bit of a passion, and it gets a little bit frustrating dealing with the mayor sometimes. The mayor really doesn't know me. In about 3 or 4 different meetings, park board meetings, maybe a couple more from last year. And I'm not sure if that is a really knowing that somebody who's been on the park board for 28 years as a volunteer and trying to make me resign from the park board over disagreements. You know, any board, anybody has disagreements, and you try to correct them and move forward. I had a meeting with the mayor, and he asked me to resign, and obviously I refused, and that's one of the reasons why we're here today. Some of my bigger disagreements is with the Parks and Recreation and even maintenance being separated. I don't think that's been the right decision, but going forward, we'll see how it works out. I disagree with the city administrator and mayor directing the parks programs with little experience in parks. I disagree with the park board being canceled by the city administrator and not letting us reschedule the meeting. And so I set the agenda. I set the agenda, I set the meeting date, and after I sent out that meeting date to all the board members, within about 5 or 10 minutes, I got a notice back that the mayor has canceled our park board meeting. Well, I'm not sure if the park board, but I appreciate that since the mayor does not have the authority to speak to that, I believe. So I realize that we need better communications from the park board and transparency and trust. And in order for this to happen, the mayor, we need to work better together to make it better for the city. I have never disrespected any park board member or prevented the board from going forward at all. As a citizen of Aberdeen for 70+ years, I do understand the community needs in this area. So I am passionate and concerning Aberdeen, especially the parks and recreation programs for youth. And I don't want to see our standards.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comments?
My name is Buzz Scott. I'm the cosmologist. A little background about myself is I've probably been involved in the Parks and Rec for 30 years. I'm only 45. I've probably had every job you can have in the park department besides being a full-time administrative. I've worked at the lawn cabins. I've worked at the park department's maintenance. I was caretaker of my deer park. I'm not your slow pitch. I played basketball. I was the president of the Aberdeen Little League. I played slow pitch, kickball, volleyball, every sport you can. So I would say I have a pretty good pulse about the parks department. My father was on the park board for 20+ years with Mr. Scott. I have been on the park board for almost 3 years now. I did my father's position when he stepped down with pleasure. I'm very passionate about the parks. And Mr. Stoddard has been our park board president. I've attended these meetings and I do not consider him competitive or bullying in any manner. I consider himself very passionate. And it has been a new transition for us, not having a director. And it's been difficult for us as a board and a vision moving forward. But also, I think we're in a very slippery slope of when you have a volunteer of 28 years in an unpaid position, giving his time to be removed or have a resolution proposed in front of the council to remove him, when as a board, I believe we want to have multiple inputs. We don't want a yes man or all one voice moving forward, but wanting to have a board, I believe, to have multiple opinions. So it's a kind of a slippery slope when you can have a unpaid volunteer brought before city council to be removed. After 28 years, I thought I might be here to see Mike Stoddard receive the key to the city or a plaque or something for his dedicated service. Yet here I am defending him. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
My name is Stacy Barnum. I reside in Central Park. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you tonight about an issue that I believe deserves thoughtful consideration. A resolution to remove Mike Stoddard from the Parks Board. I worked for the Aberdeen Parks and Recreation Department for 37 years, and I had the pleasure of working with Mike Stoddard for the 28 years he was on the park board. After I retired in December of 2025, the Parks Director position was not filled. While that was not a decision I supported, I understood that the city had to make decisions about staffing and resources. Since that time, the city administrator has served as the staff person working with the Parks Board, and Mayor Moore has also attended some of those meetings. I'm particularly concerned by the mayor's message that was given to the Parks Board that it is not needed and that there is an effort to eliminate the board altogether. I cannot imagine what it feels like to volunteer your time, only to be told that the city you have dedicated that time to is no longer considered necessary. The current Parks Board members, Mike Stoddard, Bud Scott, and Nick Cassina is here tonight, and Leslie Goings are all people who care deeply about Aberdeen Parks and the programs that are provided to the residents. They're passionate about what they do. Sometimes passion can come across as frustration or even anger, but I believe there is, I hate this microphone, sorry, but I believe there is an important distinction between being a difficult or frustrated committee member and being someone who is unwilling to serve the city's interests. Disagreements, strong opinions, and difficult conversations are not necessarily signs that someone should be removed from a volunteer board. Our community depends on people who are willing to volunteer their time and experience to make Aberdeen a better place. Removal from a city board or commission should not be taken lightly. It should be reserved for circumstances that truly warrant such action, not simply because a member has strong opinions, asks difficult questions, or occasionally expresses frustration. Mike's current term on the Parks Board runs through December 31st, 2027. I respectfully ask the mayor and the city council to allow him the opportunity to complete the term for which he was appointed. More importantly, I hope the council will recognize the value of the countless hours Mike and the other Parks Board members have freely given to this community. You may not always agree with them. They may not always express themselves perfectly, but their willingness to show up, participate, and advocate for Aberdeen's parks is something that should be respected and valued. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Is there any other public comments?
Casey Morrison, Ward 1. Mr. Stoddard, a lot like him. 28 years. I mean, I'm probably gonna get in trouble for this, by using the word disgusting, but it's disgusting. We don't live in an echo chamber. The world is not an echo chamber, and people are not gonna agree. When I don't agree, and most of the people up there cannot stand me. That's reality. We have to find common ground. And for somebody that's volunteered 28 years of time, and you're just gonna throw him off because he doesn't agree with you. That's disgusting. You and if this was the first time something like this had happened, I would be more forgiving, but I've been on the receiving end of not agreeing with you and getting kicked off committees and mercilessly humiliated at work. God, stop. You know, people want to, I told you this before, people will work with you. They want to work with you. Whether they agree with you or not, you don't give them a chance if they're not going in the same direction as you. And that goes for both of you. Please just stop with it. Additionally, I would like to know, and like, I'd like to file a public records request. I would like to know how much it costs the city of Aberdeen to draft up this resolution and consult with people to dismiss the volunteer of 28 years. Thank you.
Is there any other public discussion? Yes, sir.
Good evening to all of you. I am Fred Scott, the aforementioned former member of the board. I had served for 25 years and recently resigned, bringing up the time for a new generation. But I want to just publicly comment that I think Mike Stoddard is the ultimate as far as a leader and a compassionate person with his involvement solely for the improvement of the park system. And it's a pleasure working with him, alongside him. He's a good friend. and I support Mike Stoddard for Citizen of the Year. Thank you.
Thank you. There any other public comment?
I do have a couple comment to read into the record.
I'll let this gentleman go
Oh,
first.
sure, absolutely.
Up here, thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Wes Peterson. Previous director, started as the director for 33 years at the city of Aberdeen. I came here in 1970 and was served all the way until 2003. I'm very quite concerned about the action that they're taking, Mr. Mayor. The message you're sending to the community that they don't agree with you, you're going to get rid of them. A volunteer is very, very important to all of us. So I would be concerned about if I was current volunteer, that if I disagreed with you, that I would be next to be exited. The important part is this: what happens, what message is sent into the future volunteers. Those of you that don't know how the park board exists, it exists by city charter. They make the rules and regulations and they enforce them. They work for the council and the mayor. They don't have the ability to pass budgets, but they set the rules and regulations. So the idea of submitting, having that removed concerns me. It's no different than you as council people serving on the finance committee, public works, or anything else. And how many times you're going to disagree with the mayor on some of those? The good thing for you is he can't remove you because you're elected. So I think that is something you should think about. I would strongly, strongly recommend that you not pass this resolution and to spend time working with the mayor and the park board and Ruth to make things happen. When I heard about the no longer having a director, I've had many conversations with Ruth. And I think somewhere along the line, the communication is broken down. It is, I think that could be repaired relatively easily without having people dismissed. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it and have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other thoughts or comments?
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Eduardo Van Goforth. I live in Aberdeen in Ward 6. I'm here today to express concerns about a church that's across the street over here called Paleos. And I have had many people come to me that expressing that they're slanderizing my name when I've never walked into that building. And furthermore, they are telling people that work there, volunteers that work there, that if they mention my name or mention my girlfriend's name, that they're automatically fired on the spot. I don't see that as being justified in any way, shape, or form. I don't think one's name needs to be in an organization that is doing such a job for the people, the homeless, feeding them, and all that other stuff, and then they want to try to put themselves in a rumor mill situation. So I'm asking you guys, Ward 6, whoever needs to take care of this issue, to take care of this issue and justify that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other public comment? Yeah, we'll move on.
I do have a
Oh,
public
I'm
comment
sorry.
to read in the record. Okay, so this was a public comment that was received by email. This is from Doug Farmer. Dear council members, I'm writing regarding resolution 2026-32, which recommends the removal of Mike Stoddard from the Aberdeen Parks Board. I would like to express my strong support for Mike and his continued service on the board. I had the opportunity to work with Mike during my time at the Aberdeen Parks and Rec Department, including 19 years as a full-time employee. During that time, I saw firsthand his dedication to Aberdeen Parks and his commitment to serving our community. Working alongside Mike gave me a personal appreciation for the knowledge, experience, and perspective he brings to the Parks Board. Mike has dedicated more than 20 years to serving on the board. That level of long-term commitment demonstrates how much he cares about Aberdeen's parks, recreation system, and the people who rely on them. His willingness to continue serving is a reflection of that commitment. One of Mike's greatest assets is the knowledge he has gained over those many years. In particular, his understanding of the history of Aberdeen's park system is extremely valuable. He has seen the development of our parks, the decisions that have shaped the system, and the challenges and opportunities it has faced over the years. That institutional knowledge provides important perspective and context as the board considers current issues and plans for the future. Having spent 19 years working full-time for the Parks Department, I understand the value of having individuals on the Parks Board who have long-term perspective and genuine understanding of the department and its history. Mike brings that perspective to the board. His experience, dedication, and familiarity with our park system make him a valuable resource to the board and to the city of Aberdeen. For these reasons, I strongly encourage the council to reconsider Resolution 2026-32 and allow Mike Stoddard to continue serving on the Aberdeen Parks Board. After more than 20 years of dedicated service, his experience and knowledge are invaluable. I believe Aberdeen and its park system are better served by having Mike continue to share that experience, knowledge, and commitment with the board and our community. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Doug Farmer.
To the consent agenda with the council president and support.
Motion to approve tonight's consent agenda, which includes minutes from the June 22nd meeting, accounts payable and payable.
Second.
And seconded by Councilperson Leonard. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to the mayor's report, and I just wanted to talk about a few things here. I was at the ribbon cutting for Terminal 4 for the Port of Grace Harbor, and that was a wonderful event. It was nice to see about 600 of representatives from all over the state and the country come to that. Can't wait to see them in full operation. Second, I gone to all the businesses that are around the alley between Broadway and High and spoke with the property owners about putting lights in the alley, and we've all agreed. So, and our guild will be starting that project within the next few weeks. Met with Mayor Springer last week and from Cosmopolis, and it was having a great discussion. I'm glad to hear she depends on us a lot, and I'm really glad to be here for them. I met with Brandy, Executive Director at the Historic Seaport, and also at a separate meeting with Paul Foster to talk about potential partnerships, to see about getting maybe a hotel in South Aberdeen, and also about the potential coconut property and what might be done about that property. And then with Public Works, and it looks like unfortunately we'll have to postpone the North Street Bridge, the Young Street Bridge, for about a year, as we're about $7 million shy with inflation and everything. Prices have gone up, so that's going to be about another year while we look for more state and federal funding for that. And so maybe late 2027 when it starts. Attended Summerfest and the Bobcat. There was they held an event called Family Feud, and Director Scott, Chief Green, and Administrator Clemens and myself were the Bobcat team. And I hate to say, but we kicked Oakland's butt. So we love Oakland, but it's fun to win. Summerfest was really well attended, and I hope the gals who've been putting it on are going to pass it on this year to somebody else. So I hope next year's will be just as good or better. Ruth and I met with Representative Birnbaum about finding filling shortholes or shortfalls that we have in some of our funding for North Shore Levee and also the North Street Bridge. And then we finally got our order to go through for our new Christmas decorations for downtown and around the city. So, yay, look forward to that. And then I just wanted to end my report on, we love volunteers. This city has so many organizations that depend on volunteers, and I know they're the lifeblood of all these organizations in the Parks Department. And we don't take that their volunteer service lightly. We depend on it, and we love our volunteers. So I just want to make sure any volunteers that are out there listening, We do appreciate every minute that you give to our city and any volunteer organization. We all depend on your help, and we do appreciate that. And then finally, before I end, I just wanted to congratulate Councilperson Carrie Hubbard for winning her advanced certificate municipal leadership. I owe her one frame because I did get a frame for you.
There's been a lot of certificates that we run out of frames.
Okay. All right, thank you. Now we'll move on to council reports. Are there any councilors that would like to report? Council President Swart.
Yes, on July 31st, I also attended the grand opening for the new marine terminal at the port. We've been hearing about this investment for a number of years, and it was truly remarkable to see it in person. We were able to get a tour of the facility and get to see the ins and outs of how it's going to work. Unfortunately, in my opinion, and this might become with some new automation, but luckily it doesn't sound like that will be eliminating any jobs down there. I met with my seatmate, Councilmember Shaw, I believe it was last week, to discuss what we've been working on during the legislative phase. Much of that was centered around economic development, the museum transition board, and next steps on the committee that will be established to take a deep dive on all things EMS and health in our community. I also attended Summerfest with my family. It's always good to see folks getting together downtown. I highly recommend that if you are in any way, shape, or form a barbecue fan. Had lots of excellent tri-tip. And lastly, we held the Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting on the 17th. We will be looking into the idea of working with a consultant on a rebranding project. One of the big focuses of the group is to encapsulate all the different things that make our city so great. And one of the core elements of this will include wayfinding signs that are designed to match the new sign on the grid.
Thank you. Any other council Christian Ramsey?
Let's see, I participated in museum action meeting, two museum collection, no, two museum transition. I also participated in the Grace Art and Talent meeting. Since we're on break, I didn't have a lot to say, but you know, the people putting on the museum, the card members have a lot to say about our public works department, how awesome they are, and how they're just doing great things. Let's see, I also was part of the Parks Commission. I participated in the city cleanup with Western Creek and the University Park. And then on home, worked on cleaning up Astor Park and Frederick.
Good job. Thank you. Council President.
So while we've been on break, council members, Wilson and Lippert and I have been working on the youth council. And we put together a bunch of materials to get out. We will be attending Bob Kitten Days tomorrow. We're still trying to get through to Harbor High and get over their days as well. So we can hand information, get kids on board. So hopefully we'll approve that soon. And then I won't have to be canceling Bob Kitten Days tomorrow.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Council President.
So while we were on break, my husband and I did go down to Summerfest as well. But I also hosted my own block party during National Night Out and got to talk to a number of constituents in my area. And I got a lot of food, a lot of food. And of course, worked on the youth council stuff, trying to get everything set up with the district. And
Thank you. Looks like this side of the table. No reports of the all.
I'm happy to report that, the water bill relief program has received donations of $692, and that is just in the last 2 months. And this has helped 9 residents with their water.
All right, the council person Wilson.
I also went to Summerfest and, it was quite active. I was surprised how many people were there. And we held a, night out in our park over at Legion Manor, and thanks to all the police and temporary cadets, is that what they are that come out? Yeah. They were just awesome and we had a really great time. So thank everybody for doing that night out thing. It's amazing.
So, I don't say anymore, but I just also wanted to comment that, the movies in the parks have been really well attended. There were about 200 previous week. Last week, there was about 250, closer to 300. So, really well received.
Next week is the Goonies.
The Goonies is the next one, yeah. I'll say that. Okay, so we'll move on now to staff reports with administrative plans.
Mayor. A friendly reminder that the council budget workshop is next Wednesday and will begin at 6 o'clock. These, one of the things that we'll be going over is the community satisfaction survey, budget and budget priority survey, excuse me. Review the 2027 budget as it stands right now and go over your legislative budget. You have your own budget in the budget itself. So that's a fun that, I'd like to go over with all of you. And I want to also better understand your priorities as we're figuring out what we're going to, how we're going to prioritize the budget. Again, 6 o'clock next week. They had meetings, we are also in an audit, the state auditor's office on site, conducting audit, and so it's kind of our annual thing. And then we'll have the exit conference. So if you're interested in attending the exit conference, please get a hold of Finance Director Katie Williamson to let her know that you want to get a part of that. And just forward you an email with the calendar invite. Museum Transition Committee is moving along. This is a really great team of people who are very active. We have been working with the fire marshal, the city electrician, and the building official to get a temporary certificate of occupancy, but they are very clear on their direction and their directives from the board and what you would like to see. So we have a date of October 31st is the date I have to move out of the museum building, so that's what we're aiming for. So more to come, but they are doing a wonderful job working together. I also wanted, I was in Kennewick earlier this month for the Washington City Managers Association conference. And one of the things that we go there and we get ideas from other cities, and there were several cities that have agenda small groups. So that's one of the things that I learned, and they found that by having small groups prior to the council meeting, I know it's like one more meeting for you guys to attend, but we can do it virtually, but I wanted to propose that idea to any of you who might be interested in just kind of meeting before the council meeting to go over the agenda packet, to answer any questions you might have, discuss everything, or, so that's just something I kind of heard other city managers doing, and I thought that was a pretty good idea that I would love to explore with any of you who are interested in it. We do the Aberdeen Cares thing. We do have a presentation today, so we'll talk a little bit more about what we've done, but we've been working very hard, and we are again aiming for a September 1 go live date. So yeah, we'll go over that in the presentation. And as Mayor stated, yes, the movies in the park has been a huge success with lots of families attending it. Between 200 and 300 people have been attending the movies. There have been so many movies that we had to purchase new speakers in order for people in the back because the crowd went extended all the way to the hospital. And so we had to for people to be able to hear, but very well attended. Tomorrow is Goonies, so I hope to see some of you there, and we will hopefully have some free vendors as well.
Friday.
Oh, excuse me, Friday. Wishful thinking. Any questions on my report? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any directors to the plan?
Danny Smith, HR Director. This is regarding the Parks Board. I'm asking council to consider this situation not simply as a question about one board member, but as a question about the city's responsibility to its employees and the environment in which we expect them to work. Administrator Clemens has served as staff representative because she cares about the board, its work, and the city. She's continued to show up, remain professional, and work to move the board forward. Unfortunately, her interactions with one board member have become increasingly difficult. The repeated personal nature of comments, focus on past failure, and behavior that interferes with productive discussion have made it increasingly difficult for Ruth to perform her role effectively. This is not about disagreement. Board members have every right to question staff, challenge proposals, and express concerns. I'm asking council to recognize the difference between legitimate disagreement and conduct that becomes personally demeaning or prevents productive city business. If this were an employee to employee situation where one employee repeatedly belittled or undermined another and made it difficult for that employee to perform their job, I, as the Human Resources Director for the city, would intervene and focus on changing the working arrangement immediately. Ruth is asking for the same consideration. The council determines that Mr. Stoddard should remain as a board member. I'm asking that Ruth be treated with respect, reasonable workplace boundaries, and the ability to do her job without being repeatedly subject to conduct that has become unhealthy and unproductive. It is your responsibility as city council to help create a way for all employees to serve the community without having to continue a working relationship that's become untenable.
Thank you. Any others, director reports? All right, we'll move on then to presentations. We have the Aberdeen Cares team. See, yeah, sure.
So I would really like to thank the council for the support, with the Aberdeen Cares team, and I wanted to go over, since we have a go live date of September 1. I want to go over the work, like what the program is, how it can be used, who we anticipate using it, and how we plan to communicate with our partners about the program, and then the items that we still have to work through. The ACT project team is a collaboration between the city of Aberdeen and Coastal Community Action Program, also known as CAP. We do have council sponsors, that's Deb Hodgkin and Mel Taylor, and then Fred DeBlanco and myself and Daniel Hargrove, as well as Chief Green, are kind of the executive sponsors of this particular program. And then we have DJ Cox, who is the city's code enforcement officer. He is the ACT program coordination lead. Cash McCullum is the CAP side. So we have two teams essentially. We have CAP and the city of Aberdeen. And while we are working together, we do have two separate teams because I don't direct CAP employees and CAP doesn't direct city of Aberdeen employees. So we will have positions on both sides. Which has been a really good pairing, by the way, to have Cash and DJ work together to build certain aspects of the program. And then the outreach specialist position that we have is actually called a care coordinator, and they have identified a couple of people who will serve in those positions, but I don't believe that it's been made official. So I have more to come, and I will be providing more information as we go on, when we go along with the program. So the ACT program is the right help at the right time. Like I said, it's a coordinated partnership, and how this differs from anything that we've had in the past. The care coordinator will respond to non-emergency needs involving any kind of behavioral health, substance use, homelessness, or social services issues, crises that people might be in that don't necessarily require police response or fire response or emergency services. This is something that is similar, if not identical, to the program that we had with Elena Moore. And except that we won't be sharing this person with Hoquiam. And while we did split the cost for Elena, I believe a lot of her time was spent in Hoquiam. So this is a program that's just specific to Aberdeen. And so it will add services that go alongside traditional emergency response. If officers or responding first responders deem it required or needed. So ACT addresses gaps in the current system. Our hope is, and this was something that we identified with the Utility Rate Advisory Committee, super users or repeated users of police, of emergency services, emergency room. Our hope is to kind of assist in lessening the number of people or the repeated use of these services. We also want to connect people to services to address any instability in their lives that might be homelessness, substance use, unaddressed behavioral health concerns, or those people who have been disconnected. Maybe they signed up and it got away from them, or they didn't follow up, or they didn't have any follow up. This will allow someone on the ground, boots on the ground, to provide and follow up with people and to ensure that they are connected. Another hope that we have is the short-term intervention. I would like for this position to also interrupt any negative behavior that's happening on the streets. For instance, last year we had a very difficult time with people on F Street, in an alleyway on F Street. We've had anywhere between 20 and 30 people gathering in the alleyway to collectively and openly use drugs. Our hope is that we can deploy someone to kind of interrupt certain behaviors that are similar to that and that are happening in public spaces. We also see this as a tool for business partners, especially business partners, to use. I think that's something that I want to kind of mention to all of you, is that while we recognize community-wide, there are a lot of issues that and a lot of problems that could be solved through this. We want to really focus on the business community and just help support downtown revitalization. And we also, so that is something that we're hoping to start out with, and I'll go into the focus areas. This again, it does not replace 911, law enforcement, fire, or crisis response services. It does not replace that. It is simply a tool that can be used to deploy a person to assist someone who might be in crisis of some sort that is not necessarily an emergency. And I think that the more that we educate people as to how to use this program, I think it will become easier for people to identify when is it time to call 911, when is it time to call the hotline. Again, it just is involving a lot of coordination, connecting people to services. We also wanted to kind of, we were able to ask CAP some difficult questions like, well, how does this differ? How is this going to differ from anything that you do? The community is going to need to see some changes. They're going to need to see visible changes. They're going to need, I need this person to be visible within the community. So our first few weeks of working with CAP were really getting through those difficult conversations about like maybe their performance or their perceived performance by the community. And we really wanted to make sure that they understood that the city has an expectation and that the community has an expectation from this program and how we expect it to perform. And so while their approach is far more compassionate, ours is maybe more traditional in a sense. So we had to really marry those two ideas together to ensure that the community can see visible changes. So how this will work is that there will be some sort of referral, whether a business calls the hotline or a police officer calls the hotline, or a community member calls 911, and then the non-emergency line dispatches that call to an officer, and the officer can determine and triage the call and determine whether or not that should be a referral to the ACT program. The ACT person, the care coordinator, will act in a very similar fashion than what CAP does right now, which is they will assess the issue, they will try to connect the person with resources. Again, it's also to interrupt any kind of behaviors that are happening. And then also work with, we have a list of partners that we've identified, behavioral health partners or the hospital, or, we have a whole list of partners that this coordinator can pick from to kind of determine how to best help the person in need. And I think that the most important part of this is that, again, this is to be a visible position, a position that walks around downtown, that's driving over to the east side of town, especially those hot spots, and is a everyday presence, similar to the way that we are using our code enforcement officer who goes around and wakes people up. This person will start at 5:30 in the morning and will also be assisting with waking people up and ensuring that they're connected to services. So the goal is not simply to provide like a referral, it's to actually help the person through the continuum of care to stability. So what will success looks like? These are some of the success measures that we've identified, and that's connecting to ensure, and we will be tracking. The city will have its own tracking methods as well, and CAP will also be tracking. It's to connect more people to appropriate services, reduce repeated contacts to our first responders or repeated visits to our jail. And just to improve coordination and accountability, not only with the city, but also with our partners. Again, I understand, I know that there's a lot of rhetoric out there as to like what, our partner CAP does, or like what kind of services are they providing. So this is also an accountability tool for us to closely understand what our partner does in this space. And to identify any service gaps, and just again, to help people move towards greater stability. ACT is about outreach and engagement. It's about those basic needs assessments. It's about providing transportation. It's about that follow-up contact. It is not a replacement for 911. It is, the ACT care coordinator is not going to remove any camps. That's where the coordination with the city comes into play. They're not going to promise people housing. They don't have keys on them and will be handing out housing. They still have a process that they still have to follow, and availability is a very real thing as well. They will not be entering any scenes that are unsafe. Emergencies will still be with 911, still call 911. So there is going to be a little bit of, again, education that we're going to have to provide. So about the project, this has been a very, very intense legislative session for us. We have been working very hard. There are 5 of us on this project team that have really been have broken up all the aspects of this down to a science basically, and how we plan to launch this. We've been, again, working through the program planning and all the agreements. I will be bringing an MOU to all of you to sign at the next meeting. We have our legal team reviewing it, as well as CAP has their legal team reviewing it as well. We are finalizing our training program. We have already talked with the Public Works team about the program and how they can use it. We still have to make a lot of communication tools and hand those out as well to equip staff with, as well as our businesses. And again, we're planning a launch of the program on September 1. Our service areas of focus are downtown and East Aberdeen commercial areas. And then other parts of the city as needed, that person will be deployed. So we have this proactive approach, which will cover downtown and East Aberdeen. And then we have reactive as calls come in as to where to send just the care coordinator. Our hope is to reach 7 days a week of availability, and we have 2 shifts, 5:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. with a lunch, and then 2 p.m. to 11 o'clock. These times, we're literally building the plane as we're flying it, and so we reserve the right to adjust these, because I don't know how active Aberdeen is at 11 o'clock at night, how much of a need there is downtown, so we'd love feedback that way. And so we're going to listen to our care coordinators as we finalize these hours, especially as we enter into the winter months. These are the uniforms. These are designed by DJ Cox. I think it's great. He designed the emblem on it. It's a triangle that you saw on the first slide that says Aberdeen Cares team. And this is the uniform that you will see around town. We hope that the city and the community will grow familiar with the uniforms and come to feel safe or safer knowing that there is a presence downtown to help them. These are some of the tools. We have identified stakeholders. We just created our communications plan so that we can build scripts for like our finance department or any people that interact with the community. Our tools include any number of these things, from business cards to printing things out on the utility bill, to in-person presentations for different groups like maybe the port or the Quinault Indian Nation, those stakeholders that might have a vested interest in this program or may find this program useful. So what we're working on, but some of the things we have to finalize is we do have to get the phone number up and running, which will be printed on different cards, and communications tools. And then we also have to deliver and finalize our staff training. Again, we're already starting to deploy it and let staff know how to use it. But I think it would be really helpful to have like cards in each vehicle or decals. And we do have our uniforms on order, and we're scheduling our partners' communications, and we still have to finalize our MOU. So I'd love to open it up for any questions any of you might have. Jerry?
So just to be clear, so there's a few different avenues to contact this. It sounds like hotline after some education will be primary, but there's also 911 can direct as well as the non-emergency number. Is that correct?
If it's 911, then it's probably, it may not be a, or it may be, but that's where we will let the police officer kind of make that determination if this is a, co-response, or if this is like something that he can, or they can, deploy the team. The care coordinator too. So, Chief, do you have any thoughts on?
That's accurate. The dispatch will make a determination if something needs a dispatch officer in progress. Key term, as we've mentioned, is intervention. Our goal is to stop the criminal activity before it begins. It's not going to prevent us from showing up and taking enforcement action. We're going to continue to do that. It's just a few more times.
I think I also forgot to mention that we received $145,000 from the Association of Washington Cities for this, and that there was no matching funds or anything, so this is fully funded by that. I'm sorry.
Yes, Councilmember, I have a question kind of segues into mine. So our 911 is hosted by the county. So this is all, this information obviously needs to be provided to them as well. And I understand that you answered some of my questions as we got towards the end, but we've just finalized our communication plan for the downtown businesses. Did I understand that right?
Yeah.
How do we plan to disseminate this information to them?
For the downtown businesses, that we've determined that it might be best for the care coordinator to do introductions and walk and just hand out the frequently asked questions that we have prepared. I did have a meeting today with the executive director of 911, and I introduced the program to her and explained, she did have some questions that I need to follow up with the team on, but she's aware of the program. She is looking forward to working with it, but she wanted to know if dispatch could call the program. And I think that we'll have to talk with the team, but I think that's maybe dispatch to a police officer to let the police officer determine the referral is necessary. So more to come on that. But yeah, I did communicate with 911 just today.
And is there a future component where a care coordinator could be dispatched simultaneously with a police officer on something that is maybe less dangerous and more relevant to, say, a mental health episode?
Oh, yeah, I think that, if a police officer feels that they want a care coordinator, or if a care coordinator feels unsafe, they absolutely have the ability to call police and ask for assistance that way, or co-response. So we want to leave it open, and we want to see kind of we scaled this program to fit Aberdeen. So again, I feel like everything's kind of on the table as far as like we want to determine what works for us and what works for our community.
It sounded like it was one or the other, so I just want to make sure there was room for goers.
Right, correct. Yes, yes, there is.
Will the caller have any ability to choose whether they want? So, like, if somebody's expecting a police officer to come, so they call 911, and then after they hang up, dispatcher decides whether to send a personnel or a police officer, and they're waiting for the police to show up. If things may be escalated, and so I just wonder, will they be aware of who's being sent, or how are we going to communicate that to the actual caller who's in need of what type of response is coming their way?
Right, so that's the discussion that I had with the executive director of 911 today, was, she asked the same question, can we just, dispatch, this program? I personally, and I haven't discussed this with the team, would prefer if we allow the police, her to dispatch police to the call, if that's why someone called, and then let the police officer determine if there's like a co-response or a, if this is something that the.
I would almost like suggest that we would send an active member on every call during the beginning of this until things just kind of balance themselves out. That we'll be able to easily determine. It'll familiarize them with it in a more comfortable way. It'll put less risk on them when we're first implementing this. And there's sure we've dotted our T's and crossed our I's, but there has to be some type of liability in this as well. And are those uniforms when it could, how much more expensive would be just like say there's for the next staff proof material, at least the staff proof material. Someone's going to put themselves in danger in the mental health crisis, at least getting the staff proof materials, uniforms would be bad if it's
Councilmember Deacon, I don't think the intent is for people that are in mental health crisis to get dispatched to the accident. If somebody's actively in crisis, that's going to be a mobile crisis call, and it generally does.
But things can escalate very quickly. Absolutely. Somebody's talking to themselves and when the conversation gets going, they're being chased down the alley.
And that's where we're leaning on CAP, and that's something that we have talked about, and CAP has reassured us that they will provide training and to their staff to recognize escalating situations or dangerous situations and when to call for, when to remove themselves from it and, maybe call 911. So that's our hope. And that's why we're leaning on CAP, because they have a lot of trauma informed practices.
If they're even that important, maybe even go as far as giving them a radio directly to the police channel. Things instead of calling 911 on their phone, they can radio right in, hey, this looks out. I need officers in town.
Essentially, like, sorry to jump in, but I mean, that's pretty much what the VIPs have, right? Like,
Yeah.
they have the radio that connects directly to the officers on
Exactly.
duty. I think that would be really beneficial. Glad you brought it up.
Sorry, making notes.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, please feel free to reach out if you do have any follow-up questions.
All right, thank you. Now we'll move on to finance with Chairperson Prater.
Okay, we've got a resolution request recommending the city council authorize the surplus of a 2002 Chevy 350 from facilities, resolution 2026-31. Recommending chief of this report.
Second.
Seconded by Councilperson Hubbard. Is there any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Now we're going to public safety with Chairperson Hubbard.
We had our very that was all of 9 minutes, but during that 9 minutes, we discovered. So during the month of July, our VIPs contributed 192 hours in city of Aberdeen. And at the national volunteer rate of $34.79 per hour, that equals a contribution of over $6,000 worth of service to city of Aberdeen. So big thank you to our VIPs. Also, we want to welcome our newest police officer. She's the former APD Explorer cadet, former Explorer. She's now Cadet Amy Bodenham. She started August 1st. She's going to attend the 17-week basic law enforcement academy starting on September 15th, and she'll graduate in January 22nd. For reports, we have a request recommending City Council approve amendment number 1 to the agreement between the City of Aberdeen and Public Consulting Group for Washington State Ground Emergency and Medical Transportation Program Accounting and Consulting Service. And I recommend this.
Second.
Seconded by Councilperson Evers. Any discussion on this?
All right, I just wanted to note, and I already talked to Chief Olin about this, but there were a couple of places in the original contract that reference the state of Iowa. And so they will be, they'll be getting that taken care of. So I just wanted to, when we approve, just to approve it with those amendments in mind, that they'll get that corrected.
That was my. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Next, we have a request recommending City Council approve to extend the current affiliation agreement between the City of Aberdeen and Pierce College Paramedic Program through 2029. And I recommend that we do this.
Seconded by Councilperson Reggie. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes, thank you.
And finally, we have a request recommending City Council approval to accept a grant award in the amount of $22,245.28 from the Washington Department of Labor and Industries Fire Grant Program for the purchase of a personal protective equipment washer extractor. And I recommend that we accept.
Second.
Seconded by Councilperson Bransky. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes.
That is all for the.
I'll move on to Public Works with Chairperson Bransky.
Public Works met earlier today, we had a lively discussion about a variety of projects. We've got 3 reports today. First one is a request recommending City Council authorize the professional service support, construction management and inspection services for the H Street sanitary sewer replacement project authorized at the July 22, 2027 council. Move it accepts.
Second.
Seconded by Councilperson Swarr. Is there any discussion on this? All in favor of the request recommending the City Council authorize the professional service support for construction management and inspection services for the H Street sanitary sewer replacement project authorized at July 22nd, 2026 meeting, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Our second item is a request recommending City Council authorize the Public Works Engineering Department to publish and competition for bids for timber sale DPS 26-2026.
Second.
Seconded by Councilperson Hooper. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Okay, I think our third item is the first reading of an ordinance on the proposed vacation of an alley right within block 1 of the Black Hopkins edition of North Aberdeen. Bill number 26-15. And the readings of this report.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by Councilperson Warner. Is there any discussion? All in favor, for First reading of an ordinance on the proposed vacation of an alley right of way within block 1 of Flat Hopkins edition of North Aberdeen, bill number 26-15, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Thank you.
That's all from double clicks.
All right, thank you. Now we go on to special committee items for the council president's.
I'd like to make a motion that we open a public hearing to receive public testimony on the ordinance to create a youth council and establish chapter 2.56 of the AMC. This would be for bill number 26-14.
Second.
Seconded by Councilperson Hubbard. All in favor of a public hearing to receive public testimony on the ordinance to create a youth council and establish chapter 2.56 of the AMC, bill number 26-14, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're on public hearing. Anybody like to come up and comment on this?
I would make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Seconded by Councilperson Magic. All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
And so I would make a motion to accept the second reading, recommending the city council approve the ordinance to create a youth council and establish chapter 2.56 of the AMC. Again, this is bill number 26-14.
Second.
Seconded by Councilperson Hubbard. Any discussion? Oh, sorry, Mr. President.
I just want to commend council members Hubbard, Nipper, and Wilson for their dedication to getting this project done in an extremely timely manner. I think this is going to be an exceptional opportunity and will expand our reach to the local youth. So thank you.
Any other comments? All in favor of accepting the second reading, recommending city council approve the ordinance to create a youth council and establish chapter 2.56 of the AMC, bill number 26-14, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
And I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules and accept the second reading as declared.
Second.
Seconded by council member. Is there any discussion? Okay, can we get a roll call count? Director Williamson.
Clancy,
Yes.
Gaken,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Moynihan,
Yes.
Nipper,
Yes.
Prado,
Yes.
Ragic,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Swore,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the letter for the boys and letter of support, for the Boys and Girls Club to reestablish the organization in Aberdeen.
Second.
Seconded by Councilperson Ratchet. Is there any discussion? Council President.
Each of us received an email from 2 representatives that are looking to reestablish a Boys and Girls Club here in the city. In case you didn't review the letter in its entirety, or for anyone in the audience, the letter does not make any financial guarantees. It's just signifying that those of us on council and here with the city would like to see this founded in worship.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor of accepting the recommendation, accepting a request recommending city council approve the letter for the Boys and Girls Club to reestablish that organization in Aberdeen, say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? No, thank you.
And lastly, we have a resolution that is a request recommending the city council authorize resolution 2026-32, which would remove Mr. Stoddard from the Parks Board.
Second.
Seconded by Councilperson Member. Is there any discussion?
I've got a few items or issues with this. First of all, I feel like we're being asked to make this discussion or decision with not really any sort of background on the situation. The second of all, this to me feels like something that would have been better suited in a ethics and can't think of the word right now, but more of an ethics board type of situation rather than coming here for a vote. I can't get behind it because I don't feel that I've got enough information about the situation. And, yes.
Mr. Clemens.
Oh, I was just wondering, how long is the term that he's gonna be playing for if he stays? Was it 2027?
Sure. My apologies for making this vague. It's not easy to discuss this sort of thing and how I've been feeling around this. In the last 4 years that I've been with the city of Aberdeen, the city has made great effort and progress in improving its position and quality of life for its residents. I've done the best job that I can working with directors and analyzing areas that require attention and improvements. I'm also no stranger to working with dysfunctional committees and difficult personalities. I have successfully transformed and or led committees that have solved challenging issues throughout Aberdeen, including homelessness response, museum transition, and finance committee. I took over the Parks Department in January and was met with adversity. I attended meetings leading up to January in an effort to create a smoother transition for the Parks Board and to understand the inner workings and dynamics of the board. Those meetings were tense and they did not improve in January when I eventually took over supporting the Parks Board. Mr. Stoddard was the Parks Board president at the time of the transition and is board president for the current year. In my time when working with him, I do not believe that his actions and behavior as a Parks Board member are in alignment with the City Council's code of conduct and professional expectations, nor do I believe that they are in the best interest of the residents of Aberdeen and what they deserve in community volunteer. With discretion in mind, Mayor Orr attempted to dialogue with Mr. Stoddard on August 12th and asked him in a private meeting to resign from the board on his observations and experience with Mr. Stoddard's abusive, unprofessional, disrespectful, disengaged, and demeaning behavior during Parks Board meetings. Mr. Stoddard declined to resign and according to Mayor Orr, stated that he planned to get a hold of his attorney. Mr. Stoddard's behavior on the board has caused distress for staff members and impeded forward progress for the Parks Department as the board is disengaged, in my opinion, due to the tone set by his lack of leadership skills and unprofessional behavior. I do not and would not allow staff to be bullied or abused, and I feel that I deserve the same protection. I want to be clear. Parks Board members have every right to agree with city decisions, question administrative recommendations, advocate strongly for the parks, and criticize policies. This is not an attempt to silence disagreement or retaliate against anyone for opposing decisions. However, disagreement does not justify personal attacks, disparaging remarks, repeated confrontations with the mayor, or disrespectful treatment of elected officials or staff. Since the organizational change in the Parks Department, I have experienced a pattern of comments and conduct from the Parks Board president that I have found personally demeaning and inconsistent with the professionalism expected of someone serving in a city-appointed leadership position. He has publicly blamed me for the condition of the Parks Department, made snide and dismissive remarks, and engaged in hostile exchanges with the mayor during public meetings. I also want to distinguish criticism of my performance from unacceptable conduct. As city administrator, I expect to be questioned and held accountable. I do not expect agreement with every recommendation I make. However, public service does not require elected officials or employees to accept conduct that is personally demeaning, hostile, or persistently disrespectful. If there are legitimate concerns about park conditions, staffing, maintenance priorities, or administrative decisions, those concerns should be presented specifically and constructively. They should identify the problem, the location, the desired outcome, the resources required, and a proposed solution. Personal accusations do not improve our parks. The Parks Board exists to provide thoughtful advice and recommendations and to help advance the city's adopted priorities. Its president has a heightened responsibility to model respectful conduct, maintain productive meetings, and help other members work effectively with elected officials and staff. This situation is affecting more than me personally. Conduct that becomes hostile or personal discourages participation, damages working relationships, distracts from the board's purpose, and undermines public confidence in city government. I have watched how other members of the park boards have to awkwardly face whether to speak out against this behavior or stay loyal to a parks board member who has served for many years. It's not right to stay silent, but I think it's even worse to put people in that situation in the first place. The Parks Board needs leadership that can advocate passionately while maintaining professional relationships with the mayor, council, administration, staff, and the public. Based on the conduct that I have experienced for more than 7 months, I believe the working relationship has deteriorated to the point that effective service is no longer a reasonable possibility. The resolution before you is on conduct, not his opinions, criticism of city policies, or opposition to eliminating the parks director position. My goal is not punishment. My goal is to restore the Parks Board to a functional part of the Aberdeen community where they engage with and understand the community, protect city staff and officials from protect city staff and officials from unacceptable treatment, and ensure that the Parks Board can focus its energy on improving Aberdeen's parks. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Council President.
I have 2 questions. So Mr. Stoddard is, everyone is doing this, been on this board for couple decades. My first question is, what has changed materially in the 18 months since you asked us to put him back on the board? So, I mean, he's, so in 2025, right? He was brought to council and asked to be reinstated for a term. So here we are 18 months after that. And so my question is, what has changed since then when he was something that was a good person to have on the board and things have changed in that time? And then just throwing on that HR hat for a minute. Typically, when there's a behavior issue that isn't critical or crisis, there's usually a discussion of these are the things we expect. This is how you're not meeting those expectations. This is what we need from you. And so my question is, has that been discussed with him, and has he been given an opportunity?
I have made an effort to reach out to Mr. Stoddard and ask if we could talk. Just wanted to kind of discuss some of the behaviors I was seeing, and I was told that he would not meet with me, and wouldn't meet if he wanted to meet in a public setting, with the Parks Board. And so my goal was discretion, try to just to keep the board moving forward and lessen the amount of drama around it. And so that was my effort to address it on top of just addressing the behavior when it was happening in Parks Board meetings. And the thing that changed is the elimination of the director position. I was told repeatedly about the unhappiness and just we need a director, and I just couldn't, it didn't feel like I could move them off of that. Like, this is the new normal, let's, so.
And just also on that is the director, Administrator Clemens is the Parks Director. And I believe that he refuses to accept that she is the director. And it's not like there's nobody running the department. I personally felt that his conduct was inappropriate, and I wouldn't allow my employees, anybody in the city, to have to put up with that on a regular basis. So asking him to stay was not an option, and changes. It's not a sexual abuse, but it's similar to that, and then that conduct that just can't be.
Is he going to get to answer these charges? Is the park board going to be able to speak for more than just the 3 minutes? That's a crazy accusation to make.
You're not, we're talking here. That's okay.
So ultimately, this comes down to really two things. So first of all, this is not the message that we want to send to volunteers, and we need volunteers. We had 3 people apply for the URAC. We have 3 open positions on the EDAC. I mean, we're trying to build a student council here. What are they supposed to think when they hear that people are being kicked off for being difficult to work with allegedly? And I don't want to belittle what's happened, and I don't want to make light of your experience, but you just stated yourself that this is a conduct issue, and we have a process for this. This is not that process. If that was, if it's a legitimately just a conduct issue, we just passed an ordinance about this. We just watched the first one go through at our last meeting. And that's why I printed a copy for everyone. It specifically states, including board and committee representatives, that this is applicable to. So this is how this should have been done. Putting this out there and essentially, to me, it feels like trying to tarnish someone's name who's been here volunteering their time for almost 30 years.
We're certainly not trying to tarnish anybody.
This was recommended because they are in the charter. This was recommended by the attorney to go this route. So that's why it went this route.
Right. No, I understand that legal's advice was to do this. But if it's a conduct issue, then we have a way in-house of dealing with it. We shouldn't have even needed to consult with legal.
Again, the conduct that you're describing is through the AMC, and the charter trumps the AMC. So this was the way that was more, when looking at it from a risk perspective, that the attorney felt that this was the more like the safest route for the city to go. And so that's why we're here. And again, Mayor Orr had attempted to have a conversation. And so, like, yeah.
It's not about disagreeing with anything that, you know, the Parks Board decision. And I can say I certainly was not happy at the last Parks Board meeting where he said maybe there shouldn't be a mayor in the city, and was very hostile towards me during the whole meeting. So, I mean, I'm not happy with that, but I was certainly willing to let that go. But when it's being passed on or directed at one of my employees, I don't have a right to let that go. That's my responsibility to speak up.
Is Mr. Stoddard going to have an opportunity to address these situations? Is he going to be able to answer these charges that are being brought against him? The accusations? Because right now at this point, you know, we have one side, but I would really like to hear the other side as well. Because, sorry, I mean, I can throw accusations all day. And if the person doesn't get the opportunity to answer them, then it's just kind of a one-sided thing. So I'm just asking, will he be given that opportunity?
Well, I guess we can go to it. We can try it ethics thing.
Well,
If that's what you feel you guys want to do.
I think this is what's to be surprised is that was this letter from the we've all received. This is speaking to them. I do wish there was another way to sort of that is what Marshall Central.
Was a crime committed? Was there an act of violence or yes, flip? Or I just see that unless there's, when we first established this ethics, it was on the basis of when there was a big problem. There was a huge crime that was committed. We were trying to figure out how to remove that person, and we kind of panicked, and we did not, and it resolved itself while we were coming up with this. And now since its conception, and I believe that the way it's being used is opening a floodgate for potential misuse. And I'll use the metaphor that it feels like handing a machine gun with gold bullets to a chimpanzee enclosure in a zoo. No budget. Just keep firing bullets and keep saying things illegal every time someone is doing that. And in my opinion, unless someone commits a crime or presents harm, physical harm to you, that we all just need to put it on our big politician scan.
So I'm. And, you know. We're watering down our conversations to the point where we're not able to get our points across to each other. And I plan on making a motion during the good of the order to send 2.24. I don't think it's ready yet. We can bring it back, do it again. But as of right now, it's too vague. It's too. It's powder coat. First, it talks of a few stones going back and forth. Next thing we know, we're throwing handfuls of rocks, and we all have 4 or 5 different people who wanted to bring things up against us. They said something that God only knows. We're turning rumors into weapons, conversations into problems. It shouldn't be. It's a waste of our time. Unless there's something serious that happens, we all just need to learn to agree to disagree, as we should, as it was when we all were elected to these positions. Just because we don't like those, but we can change the way we're voted in. We gotta stop trying to remove each other the first time.
Right then. We're not talking about any council people being.
No, I think this should just remain that we're talking about this case and not scenarios that could be or.
This was on my desk. It's on the thing I'm talking about, this was used as fuel for the decision tonight, that we shall be considering this while it's being handed down. In my opinion, it needs to go away before we start actually poking each other with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to jump in real quick. I'm rather uncomfortable with the process and how this has come to council in the way it has. And I got to ask, because unless I missed something, this is the first time we're hearing of things that are this serious, that are this problematic. I take it really seriously on both sides. And we have our HR director making comment tonight. I'm curious if we have a wallpapered file, if we have HR reports on this that would indicate that there's work been done, that there's counseling been done, that we're addressing these codes of conduct. Has there been any attempt to bring any of that in the past to the council? I take the entire situation extremely seriously, but I honestly feel like this is just a problem that the city has not been able to work its way through, and let's just hand it off to the council to pull the pin out of the grenade. And I think we need to be a little bit more circumspect in this. We need to respect our employees and our people that are involved. And we need to respect our volunteers. And I'd ask if this is, for me, this is probably, it was mentioned as a code and an ethics situation. I really think this needs to get turned around and reviewed. And if it is an HR safety issue or a legal issue that required legal counsel, we need to know more about that. We need to have that brought to council before we're asked to pass an ordinance that goes in the history of this city, removing somebody. So I just ask that we be a little bit more circumspect and we stand back and we deal with the problems. And I'm not afraid of getting, of removing somebody, but we're not doing this in the right way. That's what I got to say.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes, I have spoken to HR on probably every month after a Parks Board meeting. I have spoken to her about my concerns, my interactions with Mr. Stoddard, my concerns with the board itself, in leading this group. So I have, because I do see it, and as a city, we do have, these things can escalate to, employee complaints that can go, that can turn into other things, so that's why I think, I'm happy that you're taking this seriously, because I have taken it to HR and have spoken to her on multiple occasions.
Excellent to know, and I appreciate that. But I gotta say, I haven't heard about it at council.
Right.
And what we're doing right now is we're basically handing this situation to council, asking it to make a very, important decision. Personally, I don't think we have background in this. We want to believe everybody. I don't think this is something that this is the way to handle it right now. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you for the one person on this council that reached out to me about my perspectives. Oh my gosh. I was it, and I don't think this is the proper place to for it, so I know that we refer this to the ethics committee.
The way that policies are written, anybody has to be filed, has to be filed.
Yeah.
So maybe I just need to defer to the community.
As we thought about.
Yeah.
So if it's okay, I'd like to make a motion that we call the question. And I'd like to see us do a roll call vote, please. Second.
Francie,
I'm sorry, I'm gonna. Is this a situation I can abstain from? I mean, I was in the.
Abstaining
So-
council, yes.
You can abstain.
Okay, that's what I'll do.
Kagan,
I don't have to leave. No, sorry.
We're done.
No.
Hubbard,
No.
Moynihan,
No.
Nipper,
No.
Credo,
No.
Ragic,
No.
Shaw,
No.
Swore,
No.
Taylor.
No.
Wilson,
No.
motion fails.
Now we'll go back on to public comments. Is there anybody who'd like to make a public comment?
Like, before, for 25 years, I worked with paid staff and volunteers. And I heard you talking about, your employees and volunteers. The reality is that volunteers are unpaid employees. And I mean, I dealt with all kinds of crazy things. And one of the things that I learned early on is volunteers are unpaid employees. And they should get an employee book. And they should understand what the policies and procedures are. And when you have a bad situation, as whether you're the team leader, the crew leader, the bosun, the executive director that's working with someone, go to the policy and procedures manual, you look it up, here's the situation, this is the way that we deal with that. And I recognize that you have an ethics committee. But really that was, if my understanding is right, that was to deal with meetings on the other side of that stage. You would deal with city staff through the ethics committee? Okay. Which, maybe that's the way to go, but I do think, I've been a volunteer for the city on a number of different things. And as a volunteer, you get it really quick, this is what we're trying to do. And then we go to work. And I've never received a thank you for being a volunteer. When you volunteer for the city, this is what the expectations are. And I think that maybe that's something that would help address issues like this in the future. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I have to state my name again. Everything I know the protocol. Do I state my name and where I live?
You could do that.
My name is Bud Scott. I'm a cosmologist.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I think you deserve Mr. Stoddard an apology. You sat up there and semi-accused him of almost a sexual assault crime. Unfounded, he had no chance to rebuttal your claim. Ruth, I'm sorry that you have felt that way in meetings. I have attended a majority of the Parks Board meetings, and I've seen the decorum and whatnot. And I'm sorry you have really felt that way. I hope I haven't made you feel that way in any way. It isn't the board's interpretation. In my years, I've never previously seen the mayor come to me. The mayor, as far as I know, is not on the park. He doesn't serve on the park. He can attend the meeting as the park board. But I have seen the mayor come and sit in and almost insert himself into our meetings. Which I found strange. And also in regards to the HR director, I've never seen the HR director at any of our meetings. Nor have I or anyone else on the park board talked to HR. So Ruth has explained that she has spoken to HR after meetings and voiced her concerns, but once again, as many of the panel said, you're only hearing one side of the story. And sometimes feelings can be misconstrued. Mr. Stoddard and the park, but we are passionate about the park. You know, we have said that we don't have a parks director, which we have always said. Yes, and we've made that clear moving forward in the meetings. But I was appalled to sit in the stands and hear a volunteer that's given almost 3 decades of service to the city be accused in a public forum, as this gentleman said, to possibly go in the records forever, in the city records. Blows my mind. Like, I didn't know there was a big line of volunteers, people knocking down the door to get on board, but boy, that makes me want to stay on the board to know that my name can be thrown out there for judgment. Absolutely embarrassing.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Casey Barnum, I live in Central Park. I want to thank the council for not adopting a resolution tonight. And I worked with Ruth for 3 years, and I very much enjoyed working with Ruth, and I'm sorry that she's feeling that way at the Parks Board meetings. I was disappointed that Mike Stoddard shared the email that he received from Ruth. It was two or three sentences that let him know that there was a resolution that was going to be presented to the council on August 26th, to have him removed from the board, what time the meeting was and where it was that he wanted to speak. So we had 3 minutes to defend 28 years and whatever he's being accused of. And as you guys pointed out, you weren't given a lot of information. I have not attended those meetings, so I don't know what's happening in those meetings. But as a former parks director, I could suggest that maybe Austin Weber, who is the assistant parks director, could possibly be a staff person that attends those meetings. And Ruth, or I know Rick is involved with parks too, could be invited to those meetings when it seems like you would need to have someone who's a director of those meetings. It's just a suggestion. I don't work here anymore, but it sounds like things are, pretty stressful. And Austin Weber was a good balance for me because I could be a difficult person, but Austin's a really happy-go-lucky, gets along with everybody person. So he's definitely could be somebody who I think could do a good job working with the Parks Board. Thank you.
And my name is Wes Peterson. I live in Aberdeen, Washington. I'd like to thank the council for the consideration and well thought out response. a concern, I guess, more than anything else, is that there's no opportunity. Given no, I've been disappointed for, you know, she wanted to meet with you privately. That's one of the problems. He met with both of you privately, but there's no chance today. Both of you had an opportunity to talk for 10 minutes, and yet you didn't give Mike a chance to defend himself. Prepared a letter for you. I think there's a lot of stuff that could be better in the future for the park director and a member of our community since 1970. I'm quite embarrassed about what happened. I do commend the council for what they're trying to do. If there's a policy and a process that I appreciate what you've done. To me, it felt like a railroad. I was on the train and was not going to stop. That's very disappointing. I guess there's a little adage in life. I was taught by my mother, treat people like you want to be treated. And Mr. Mayor, the question, if you were treated like this, would you be happy? And that's what I have to say. Now, can the communication get better? As a former Parks Department employee and a citizen of Aberdeen, I plan to start attending the meetings. I'll try to do what we can to improve the communication. But it was a two-way street that has to also come from you guys. So I thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to working with you and we appreciate the years ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
I just want to thank the council. Thank you very much for the support. And I hope that you work with Cindy and getting a small group with Wes or whatever and finding a solution to this problem and going forward. Because it needs to go forward and for the benefit of the citizens and the youth of Aberdeen. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
See, Morrison, Ward One, I just want to offer a real simple solution since it's 2026. Maybe to avoid confusion, since most of you guys are not able to attend large boards meetings. Like, all the committee meetings, just real quick. Don't have to keep them forever, maybe just long enough for everybody on council to get caught up, whatever. I think they're public meetings, so I don't think it should matter if they're recorded or not. Just to cover everybody, just a thought.
Good idea. Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to for the good of the order. Okay.
I move to the Aberdeen Council repeal chapter 2.24 of the Aberdeen Municipal Code in its entirety, including section 2.24.01 through 2.24.050, with purpose definition of prohibited conduct, complaint process, and enforcement penalties for non-compliance. Involve the associated ethics committee. This repeal is based on chapter's overly broad and vague language, which risks being weaponized for political retaliation rather than upholding genuine ethical standards. Someone who participated in its drafting, I voted against adoption precisely on these flaws, and with the recent events demonstrated the concerns I've raised on these flaws on record.
There's no way I can read it.
Rescind 2.4.
2.24,
To rescind 2.24.
AMC 2.24.
2.2.
All right, was there a second?
2.24. And the ethics code and the ethics teachers.
Do away with the.
We don't have the code, we don't need the committee.
Okay, so you want to rescind 2.2, let's say it over, right?
2.24 covers the entirety of all 5 chapters.
Yeah.
Okay. It's entire. Is that it? Okay, so we have a motion and a second to rescind AMC 2.24 in its entirety. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Do we want to do a roll call?
That's necessary. It's obvious.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order?
I got one. Sure, sir.
Go ahead.
Actually, I wanted to say that a violation of any kind does not have to be violent or physical. And some of the things that have been said or possibly been said, since none of us know what they were, can be as damaging as a physical blow. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody realizes that one word can do it. It doesn't have to be a punch.
Thank you. And over here was Francine.
Yes. Okay, over the years, I have looked at the municipal code, but well, not the municipal code, but the charter. I went through and read it. It is super easy to understand, takes like 10 minutes to read it. And there's a lot of important things in there, like how we're supposed to have a pound, health board, fire chief is the charter, the health officer, committee. Wait, no, the health board. But I just would appreciate, I want to urge everybody else to go through and look very, like, my personal thing was about our water shed and the water stuff. Section 3752, safety and sanitary measures. It starts out talking about theaters and having fire escapes. But then it goes down into provide for the declared cleaning and purification of water courses and canals and for the draining and filling of the ponds and private property. Within its limits, within the same shall be offensive to the senses or dangerous to death, and to charge the expense of the property specially benefited, and to regulate and control and provide for the prevention and punishment of all the defilement and pollution of all streams of running through its corporate limits, or a distance of 5 miles beyond its corporate limits, or any stream or lake from which the water supply of the city is or may be taken, and for a distance of 5 miles beyond its sources of water, and to make all quarantine and other regulations that may be necessary for the preservation of public health and to remove all persons specifically with any contagious diseases to some place to be provided for their purpose. And I just urge everybody else to read it. There's a lot. It's not a long document. It's not like our state constitution. It's really easy to adjust. Please take the time to read. And it can be found at aberdeen.municipal.codes. There's 2 tasks, the municipal code, and then there's the charter.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? President Spore.
I need to make a motion to extend the meeting to be no later than 9 p.m. Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, so now go on.
There's no other the order, so I'll make sure I got that motion on the way first.
Okay, so we're out of, this is the order now. Now we're going to into executive session.
Yes, I would like to make a motion that we move into executive session where discussion with legal counsel about current or political litigation may take place. This is under RCW 42.30.110. We will be in session no longer than 30 minutes and no action is expected after the session. Second.
Second by Council. After all, in favor, say aye. Do I have to yell at me? All right, so we need to make the executive session. Open that much earlier,
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You're back in session, and can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor of adjourning?
Dave,
Aye.
say yes. Aye.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thanks.